Alrighty. Well, welcome. This is my channel. And I've been used by God to try to warn people. And I've sent a lot of harsh warnings because not many preachers out there are warning that something very bad is at our doorstep. And what I'm trying to do is prepare people for what's about to happen. um, I hope and pray that you all have a personal relationship with God and aren't here when God takes us home. However, no one knows when that is. I did actually have today is Sunday, the 5th. I had a dream about an airport. And basically I had my ticket in hand, and I knew that God was saying the rapture is soon. And I was asking where to go, and two gentlemen pointed me in the right direction. And so I believe that the rapture may happen in the future. However, I'm not going to push this because a year and a half ago, I had the same set of progression dreams. And I believe because of the prayers of the saints and the people of the earth, we have pushed back the timeline. I think that the whole series of events that have that shut everything down were supposed to usher in that time. But because a lot of people prayed and turned back to God, I believe that He delayed the inevitable coming. um, because a year and a half ago, I had a progression. Basically, I was at an airport again. I was boarding a plane, and someone was tampering with the electrical panel of the airplane, and but we were about to fly. Um, and so I knew what was coming. And there were certain people that I have previously warned that were on the plane, one being my dad. And I said that he was on the plane, and I can only hope and pray that he is still on the plane. And then I had a dream where a plane was taking off. You could see the airport in the background, and you saw the plane taking up. And then the last minute picture that I got was me looking out that little round window out of the plane. That obviously didn't happen because I'm still here a year and a half ago, or a year and a half later. And also at that time, I had outside of this house, I was in the driveway, and it was clear as day. There was a cloud, and it clearly had the side image of you could see the crown of thorns right here on his head. And you could clearly see he had a beard, and I mean, I knew it was him. And he basically said, keep looking up because I'm coming to take you home. So just keep looking up and keep fighting. So all that is to say that I believe he is again warning that something's happening. And I've also gotten a series of well, some of them were dreams, some of them were in reality flashing before me. But I would say about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, I was kayaking basically out in the bay, and there was this large progression where you could see a wave doing, like, you could see several shots of a wave. And so it was basically going like this, and you could see it. And the last one was basically cresting over the land. So that was my first warning. And then like 2 weeks later, I got a dream of me, I guess, at the coast, and I was battening down the hatches and trying to prepare and saying, "Oh, it's here, it's here!" And I looked down the sea, and you could see the seas were raging, and I could feel that something was off. And then I woke up, and And this was when I was awake. I was letting my dog on our normal walk around the neighborhood, and yet again, there was a very big cloud that there was no, oh well, this may or may not have been a wave. It was clearly a wave, and it was clearly crashing on the land. And so um and that was clear as day. And so the wave was, those wave things were in the clouds. There was no mistaking it. There was no, oh well, I think it was a wave. No, you could tell that it was a wave. It was progression of the wave. um and then several nights in a row, I've gone out here in the back. I've tried many times to find if there was a strobe light or if there was light coming off of a house, but there was clearly the whole back part of the forest was like, you could see this like white pulsating light flashing on the trees. So something is at our door. And if you've noticed any type of prepper videos lately, or I mean, even news media, they're not telling you the full truth as to how bad the situation truly is. If you go on like Southern Prepper One and these other prepping sites, and like Business Insider also tells you of the shortages that are going on. I've gotten the mental picture that we're like, it's like Thelma and Louise, like where they're driving a car and they're going off the cliff. Or you could do like the coyote and the beep beep, the bird, where the coyote basically goes and runs off the cliff. So I think that is the place we're at. We're basically like going off the cliff and it's about to plunge. And that's the mental picture that I have. I believe it won't take very much longer. But all that is a lead up into what I'm talking about today. Just trying to make you aware of what's going on. But there's pieces that still haven't happened. Like in, was it Second Thessalonians, where it talks about the great falling away. And I don't think that has not happened yet. The great falling away, it would have to be a massive amount of people going away from the church, and I haven't seen that. Christian music is all over the radio, even though it's not completely Christian, because they if you listen to some of their lyrics, they're off, and I'm not going to go into that. If you want, you can comment or talk in one of the comments below, but listen carefully. Like there was basically like, oh well, I'm a nobody and God's going to use a nobody like me to be somebody. It's like, God never in the word says that we're a nobody. God would give his life for every single one of you out there, and he doesn't want you to say that you're a nobody. And also I've heard a lot of preachers basically gloss over a lot of sin. They're like, oh well, sin's not that important. And they don't tell you how bad sin is. God doesn't like any sin whatsoever, and I know I'm getting way off track, way off the path now. But God doesn't like any type of sin. So if you think that you can sin and still make heaven, not going to happen. Also, if you think one saved is always saved, not going to happen. It clearly, if you look in the Old Testament and the New Testament, where people started going at idols and whatever, and God was like, okay, well, you can go this way and I'll have this king conquer you, and you're gonna be in exile and do this number. You're not going to get away with it. So so that was the lead up into what I'm going to talk about today. And this video wasn't supposed to be this long, but I got a little long-winded. But how do you survive the coming tide, if you will? The biggest answer is, even though this is a little beat up, this is my mini Bible. Without this and without being close to God, you're not getting through this. It even says in the Bible that many hearts will grow faint from what they see. God has shown me through videos, through other people, that the coming chaos that'll ensue. I've cried many a tear, and I'm not afraid to say that, where I know what's coming. It's really, really ugly and really bad. It is beyond your wildest imagination. Um, there'll be tsunamis that are 2,000 to 3,000 feet tall that will go all the way inland to the inside of the U.S. And it's going to level a place. And also the effect of having salt water all the way in there and then intruding on all the fresh water, that's going to kill a lot of plants, or at least knock them way down. And you're going to have to fight saltwater intrusion on every part of the land, and that's going to mess with the water supply. There is going to be a world war. It's going to involve the Great Bear, which is Russia. God gave me a dream where a grizzly bear was sneaking up on me. It's going to be a sneak attack. I've heard all kinds of different rumors as to how it unfolds. I don't know, and I'm not going to go there. So there's going to be asteroids falling. There's going to be fires from above. So what I'm trying to say is it's not going to be survivable without God. If you live near the coast, I would say that the coast may be, in some instances, a good thing and some a bad, because the coast can provide you fish and crab and all kinds of different foods. You can eat like purslane and other foods and edibles that are down at the coast. However, it puts you in a really bad circumstance if a wave or if a massive hurricane decide to come on land. Your best bet would be to go in the forest or go inland and pray and hope that it doesn't hit you as hard as it could. Even with Hurricane Michael, I think they had a 20 to 30 foot storm surge. So it leveled the place. However, I think if you got into an interior area, like off the coast, and just went interior, like even if you had to walk 4 or 5 miles and just bunker down, that may work, but you're going to still have trees snapping like twigs and having a lot of other things. So how to survive this time. The powers that be are going to use every bit of technology against you. They're going to use your phone. Your phone, by the way, does track you. Everything that you say on this is tracked. It's a fact. You can look it up. I can say all kinds of things and talk about different things, and Facebook will pick it up. And I can I can do all kinds of things, and I guarantee you, if I get on Facebook right now about the things that I'm talking about, they'll be there. So this thing, I get rid of it. If it were a survival situation and I didn't want anyone to know where I was, this would be the first piece I would get rid of, or I would make it to where they couldn't track me. There are ways of removing the battery. That would be probably your best bet. You could turn it off. You can put it in like a tin can and use it only in like major emergencies, but don't switch it on where you're going to survive, because then they'll know exactly where you are. There are cameras everywhere, and if you haven't noticed, in China, they'll use those cameras against you. Those cameras, like I know on the way down, they'll have, oh, well, this is our weather radar at blah, blah, blah. Those radars, or not radars, those surveillance systems will be used against you. I would also recommend, when it hits the fan, to not be in a populous area, if we do have shortages and complete outages of everything, everyone's going to turn on everyone. You're going to see people looting and shooting each other over a loaf of bread. It's going to be absolute chaos. You won't know who to trust. If you are truly God's, what you can do is you can pray about it, and ask, who do you want me to trust? I believe that God has a plan for his people, and I would go to him and I would ask him, are there a group of people out there that I can trust? Um, so yeah. But yeah, your best bet in surviving this is going to be with God. But if there is a time when you're going to have to survive, you're going to have to find a local park, or not a local park, but a place where you can get away, in a tent. You're going to have some kind of survival shelter. So think of tent, tarp, something to put over your head. You're going to have to also have a way of making fire. This is my little, this is a striker tool that I have. And you can make fire with these, especially if you have cotton balls, or you can also use bark. You can like fluff it up, and you can spark it with this, and that will help. So this is a mandatory item if you don't have matches. However, if your matches get wet, you're kind of out of luck. You can get a GPS. However, I would not have that be your main way of navigation. I would recommend you getting one of these things. This is called a compass, and it always points north. I would get familiar with it. Actually, the basics is there's a little red needle, and there's usually a little dot, and it points north. So you can figure out where the other directions are just by knowing that one of the directions is north. Like if you know that that so-and-so lake is south of you, then you can use this and go, okay, well, I'm going to go south until I hit it. So that is a great thing to have. You'll need, this is, it's not working. This is triple antibiotic ointment that is great to have for all kinds of boo-boos. You're going to probably run into poison ivy. This stuff, I've proven that it doesn't work highly effective against poison ivy. Because I had poison ivy. You can probably maybe even still see the red welts on my arm. I had poison ivy all on my arms and on my legs, and couldn't remove it. This stuff stopped the itch for all of 2 seconds before it kicked in again. Vinegar helped highly if you get vinegar and lather your legs and arms up. However, it did not kick out the vicious poison ivy that I had. The only way I was able to kick it out was I had Benadryl tablets, which I would also recommend having, and have those a few days. However, when you're taking them, I would recommend taking them at night before you go to bed, because they will knock you out. I'd also recommend having food, so granola bars and other things. Another good thing to have is water tablets. And these are great to have to purify water. However, this is only if you need to use that water. If it goes inside of you, you'll need to purify that water. So purifying it, these are great to have if you have a bottle, or probably won't have a bottle of Clorox. However, I can put this in a smaller container, and this will last a long time. This gets you a little dropper, and 5 drops of this per gallon. So think of milk jug size, and that will get rid of all the nasties out of your water. you're gonna stink. So I wouldn't worry about deodorant. You're gonna smell no matter what you do. And actually, it's nature's natural way of defending yourself. The more you stink, the bugs don't like a person that stinks highly. Um, there's also things called beauty berry, which are out there. If you ever see purple berry, I've never seen any other plant out there that has purple berries all over it. It's a little shrub about 3 to 4 feet, and they're in most of the southeast. I can't remember if they were. They're in Texas. So that's not south. Come on, give me a break. They claim they're in the south. They're kind of in their own little world. I'm not making fun of you, Texas. If you're out there and watching from Texas, I have nothing against you. I've lived there. There's a lot of great people that I've met there. I'm just saying that your mentality is different. And I don't agree that everything's bigger in Texas. So in my opinion, we shouldn't have any type of conflict between each other. I have nothing against you. You're a brother in another state, and I'm just trying to provide you some ways of surviving. But if you're in the tribulation and God and a whole lot of people have disappeared, don't take the mark. There's going to be a mark that comes out that's going to go in the palm of the hand right here in this part of the hand. There's a bit tag that they have made that will go right here. There's also a barcode or something that may go here, or it may be a combination of both. I have heard a rumor that the has a chip in it, and I've had people online get a Bluetooth app, and they basically make it search for different signals, and it has popped up, and the person was standing right there next to him. Just saying. It does have luciferase in it, and if you look at I think they said like the concentration is 6.66%. What is the number of the beast? 666. There's another really easy test. Luciferase makes your veins glow. It has like a bioluminescence in it that will make your veins light up. However, but after people have said what the purple lights are, I've seen a lot of the purple lights disappear now, which is kind of funny. But there used to be purple lights around schools and buildings where the beast system was going to use. Actually, you can get, if you have a UV light, you can put it over your veins, and if they light up, you'll see what I'm talking about. I've actually seen people take magnets and do this number to where the what was put and it stuck to them. I've also actually seen that same test being used on packages of meat where the magnet stuck to meat. I've gotten off of topic, but you're going to have to think differently. You're going to have to be stealthy. If you have a place like a cottage or a place that you can go, I would recommend not doing it in the broad daylight. Like I know of a place that I will probably go, and I'm going to probably do it in the middle of the night. Just think how people may stop you. If it is absolute chaos, you may have a group of people that have getting together and blocking certain roads. So hopefully, if you encounter roadblocks or if you see that from a mile away, there may be an alternate route. So just be aware. And if martial law has been declared, then you'll have military locking everything down. If you're in cities and you haven't run and you have military going around, there are ways of getting out, but you're going to have to be stealthy about it and use like greenways and that type of thing, in woods and that type of thing. But there are ways of escaping. So another big thing is finding food. I would recommend, if it hasn't hit the fan yet, this is a great guide. It is Peterson. Sorry, I'm trying to have not get the reflection not to, but this is a guide to the medicinal qualities of plants. I think it's actually all of North America, but it gives all kinds of uses to the plants that are around you. The plants around you were put there by God to help us out and to get us through this time. They don't, the people in charge don't want you to know that. It was in the 1950s that the Rockefellers put a propaganda campaign. They knew, and they still know, that the natural stuff works the best because it was put there by God. But this is a great guide to have. If you don't know of a plant, look it up. It can be really time consuming to look up a plant, but it may save your life. I think I have a plant ID where I go over some of the qualities. It's a little lengthy, but I do go over some of the common plants that are in the area, and you can scroll through it or whatever you want to do. But you need to know the plants that are around you. I would also recommend having a map of your area. It has all kinds of maps of this area, and there's a great big one inside of it that shows the different parts of around here. And around me, there are a lot of swamps, which can be deadly if you don't watch where you're going. There are critters out there. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, nothing will hurt you. We do have a lot of, well, if you're not in Florida, then be thankful. Florida has every nasty critter that you can imagine out there. However, I've been in the woods so many times. I've been camping. The way that you not have them in your sight is you have a fire and you're huddled around fire. They don't like fire. They don't like the crackling, whatever. My first dog actually refused to ever be around a campfire because of the crackling and whatever it made. It freaked him out, and he didn't like it. So he would come behind me and hide behind me, but critters normally will stay away from fires. Foxes, I've never known them to attack a human unless they're rabid. And usually you'll know a rabid animal. And that's the case of a fox and a coyote. Both of them will be highly aggressive and usually out during the day. They'll be out when they're not supposed to be. But a fox usually will not attack you. And if you don't want them to attack you, what I would do is, if you have a bow and arrow or even a long stick, what I would do is, if he came close to me, just basically smack him out of the park. Use it like a baseball bat and knock him out. I'm sorry, I know there are animal lovers, but when you're trying to protect yourself and your family and in the woods, you got to do what you got to do. And when you're camping, I would recommend, or like when you're in your shelters and basically away from things, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to figure out some way of bundling up anything that smells. If you have perfume, if you have deodorant, if you have food, if you have anything, absolutely anything that smells in you, if you can go, yep, has a smell, put it like in a bag or in a bucket, and then you're going to have to figure out some way of hauling it in a tree. If you can't do that, worst case scenario is you're going to have to get it away from your camp. You're going to just have to put it in something and maybe put it in a crook of a tree, or figure out some way of just getting it away from you, because that's what a bear is going after. Bears' normal diet, 80% of it is plant material. They very rarely eat meat. They do eat fish occasionally. Um, um, but more than likely, you're going to have in your camp like possum or raccoon. You may have a skunk, and you're just going to have to deal with them. Possum aren't aggressive. They're pretty easy to deal with and harmless. Skunk, you'll know that they're coming from a mile or two away. And you just try to make it unfriendly, and if he comes in your area, just go out of it. They are they eat insects and small things, so they're not going to do a whole lot of damage. If you tick them off, they will spray you. So let's see, panther. There have been reports by friends. If you live in the Florida Panhandle, we have a lot of free range areas, and that's probably where you're going to be if it's a SHTF situation. They can attack, but what you do with a bear and with a panther is stand your ground. If you have young kids, you bring them to you and you act big and you stand up for yourself. And hopefully Mr. Bear will go the opposite way. But if it's a dire situation, then yeah. However, the way I also think about dealing with critters is if I'm in a survival situation and I have a bow or if I have a gun and a critter shows up to my campsite, that's dinner. I've not had foxes or coyotes, but hey, you got to do what you got to do in that time. So that would be food. A bear is going to be a lot harder to take down. I would recommend just allowing that bear to be, but you can take a fox out. You aim for, like, if his arm, let's say if he was like this, if you aim for right here, the heart is in that lower part of the area, and you can hit the heart, and that's where I would aim for. Snakes. What the Seminoles and other Indians did back in the day is they made platforms. So if you have you may not be lucky and have a outdoor hammock, those would be great to have. If you're not in that situation yet, go buy you an outdoor hammock. That would be great to have in this type of situation. However, if you are in that situation and you have to think creatively, what they did is they actually had a platform about 2 to 3 feet, maybe 4 feet off the ground. You can what you can do is, if you don't have rope, you can actually wrap vines or wrap it around the tree, and you can put your supports, like treated, like if here's 2 trees, you can put a support going across, but you have to have a place where you can put a whole platform down. And it's going to require having either trees are already down or knocking a few trees over. So that may, if you don't have a way of knocking those down. However, another tool of having that happen is if you somehow come across rocks. What you can do is you can beat rocks against the ground and make it so they have a sharp point, and you have some way of, it's not the greatest of tools, but hey, you're in a situation where things are not kosher. So you can use that to chop away a tree, because what you can do is you can bend the sapling down and then just go after that bend, and it'll break apart. It'll take longer, but it'll still work. What I'd also do in that situation, if you're trying to hide from people that are going to come after you, like if you haven't taken the mark and it's the tribulation, you're going to have to cover your tracks. You're going to have to be stealthy. But one thing that I would do is walk on more solid surfaces. So if you're having sand or something that's really easy to pick up a footprint, don't walk in it. Otherwise, what you can do is you can have a limb of a tree, and you can cover up your footprints by just like dragging it along and making the footprint go bye-bye. That's a great way to get rid of your footprint. Also, make sure that your fire is not having smoke. So don't have kids and putting pine straw on a whole bunch of stuff and sending up smoke signals. There are a lot of drones out there, and what is going to happen during that time is they're going to be used against you. You're going to also have, if it's the tribulation time, you're going to have demons that can smell out human flesh and will hunt you down. And if in that situation, you're just don't deny God. Whatever you do, don't deny God. But you may have a demon come after you, and sadly, I say he's going to go and rip you to pieces. Sorry, don't want to be graphic, but that's what I've heard. You will also have a group of demonically controlled military people, and these people are going to hunt you down. They're not going to care what you say or have done. There are right now concentration camps that make Auschwitz look like a field day, or will make Auschwitz look like a field day. They're already coming online. I've heard reports from Australia, as well as I think somewhere in Europe, but they are already putting people there. Oh, China is definitely another one, where they're infected and they're put in these camps. So just don't deny God. However, you may have to, if it's a tribulation, you may have to go through torture that is beyond what you can ever imagine. The terrors of Auschwitz and the different things that I think it's Mingdala and those others did is horrific. But I've heard accounts of people having all kinds of things done to them, like cutting of flesh, breaking of bones, being put in a boiling cauldron of liquid, and you may have to suffer. Just keep this in mind. I'm sorry I'm so graphic, but I mean, I'm trying to help you to get to that point, because if you give in to all of the hurt and pain and what the tribulation is going to bring, and if you take the mark, you have denied God. He is going, I mean, he will see you as his enemy, and his full wrath. We have never, in my opinion, we have never seen his full wrath. Noah is a prime example. Well, he was only man of God, but in Noah's time, that's the only true example that we have where, in Sodom and Gomorrah, where basically God destroyed everything that was left behind, and he got rid of it. I mean, he decimated it. So that's going to happen again. So just keep in mind, it's like, I'm going to see God, I'm going to see Jesus, I'm going to see Jesus, I'm going to see Jesus. Yes, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to be bad. And I hope and pray, and I've prayed many hours, that God would allow people to be killed quicker and come home quicker. But just put this in your head, that if you deny God, you're going to go to the lake of fire. And the lake of fire is eternity. So whatever you're feeling right now, or whatever you're going to feel in one of these camps, think of that hour after hour after hour after hour after hour, forever. So Yes, I mean, I've tried to put myself in that situation. I've tried to mentally prepare myself if I were in that situation, what I would do. And to be blatantly honest, I don't think I could do it. I absolutely don't think I could go through that amount of torture. And I'm hoping and praying that God will allow martyrs to be done quickly and not to be done over a long, drawn out session. Um, Sorry to be so graphic. I'm just trying to tell it like it is and trying to get you to that point. Um, but you're gonna have to think outside the box. You're gonna have to look out for demons. I've also been told that giants may be roaming around. I don't know if places of refuge will exist. Um, there may be groups of people that help each other. Just just make sure that you watch your back. I mean, just just try to, I don't know, do the best you can. Um, so um, and also to prepare for this time, I would have food. Well, I've stored up a lot of food, and if you're around me, I will give food to whoever I can. I'm just hoping. Well, I mean, one way or another, God's got me, but I will try to help those that are around me, and I've told God that. Um, so, um, but yes, if you haven't heard, the U.S. is the Babylon. We're also ancient Egypt, or been, um, yeah. So, yeah, we're going to be basically wiped off the planet. And because if you look in Revelation where it talks about Babylon and how it goes down, this country is going to be laid desolate. Desolate means there ain't nothing here. So this country is going to be utterly destroyed, um, like Sodom and Gomorrah. I think Sodom and Gomorrah gone. Bye bye. Um, you will be the people that are left are going to be potentially taken to places where you don't know any of the customs, you don't know any of the food, um, and it's kind of, in a way, it's a punishment because you're not God's. Um, there's a difference between God's people and and the people that aren't God's yet. God's people will always be taken care of, and God will always provide a way for you to escape all this stuff. However, if you're not God's until after the rapture happens, you have to get through the rapture, I mean, through the tribulation, by death. And it clearly says that at that point, death is taken from this area. So if you think that you can repent and jump off of a tower and commit suicide, which is actually killing the body in the temple of God, you've got another thing coming. One, death doesn't exist at that point. If you jump off of a tower, you're going to have to suffer the consequences of everything in your body not working. And two, if this were before the rapture and you decide to commit suicide, you're killing the temple of God, and basically that's not allowed. Um, so, um, so if you think you can escape all this, all of what you're experiencing right now will be taken with you down to hell. Sorry. I'm sorry that this video is so blatant, and I'm just trying to get you prepared for what you're going to see and experience. But I don't think anyone knows the desolation and starvation and everything hitting. The tribulation is supposed to be a time of God's wrath when he punishes those people that have turned away from him and not done the right thing. We've been lied to and deceived. If you still have TV on, shut it off. It's actually behind me. That's not mine. I'm living with my mom because I have nowhere else to go. But if I could, I would absolutely take a bat to that thing and get rid of it. It's evil. It's pure evil, because what it does is it pushes things that are demonic, like, well, I'm not going to go into the issues, but pushes like alcohol and drugs and styles and all this stuff that is against the Bible. The best thing you can do, if you want to get into your Bible, I would highly recommend reading John and Matthew. We'll definitely let you know the laws and rules as to what you need to follow. And if you think that you can accept God as your Lord and Savior and keep sinning and expect to make heaven, you've got another thing coming. You will not make heaven if you do that. God takes his word very seriously. And if you worship little idols and decorative things, it's not acceptable. Even though I'm one of few that'll say it, you can look at Truth Unedited, but Christmas absolutely is not a Christian holiday. Actually, there's a verse of the Bible that clearly points towards the Christmas tree, where it says that a tree is cut in the forest and we put wood to stand it up and we put decorative gold and silver things on it. That clearly, look up the verse. That clearly it says, don't do this. Look up the origin of what Christmas is. Christmas is actually Saturnalia, the birth of God. Wow, I've gone way off topic now. The birth of God was a time when the people were in the field, and that can only happen. Well, no, I mean, it doesn't happen in the dead of winter. Do you know any farmer that during the wintertime is out in the field? There aren't any. If you have livestock and cattle and whatever, you're bringing your things in. So that is not when God came to this earth. You can look it up for yourself. There are two times that have been suggested that his birth was. One is August, September time. And I've also heard someone say that March actually may be a time when he came. So it was changed with the Council of Laodicea. And I believe that there are a lot of the Bible that we should have had has been hidden because it gave information that we should have been able to have. Like look at the book of Enoch, and it gives you insight. Second Esdras is another. Baruch is another. The story about Adam and Eve. That Adam and Eve actually gives you spot on with how many years God was going to allow before Adam would be allowed back into the garden. And God said, he called it 5.5 days, but the 5.5 days, every day represented 1,000 years. So God was saying to Adam that 5,500 years have to go by before I allow you back into the Garden of Eden. And so we clearly know from that this earth is probably we know it at this point. We know I think we have gone past the 5,500 years, because most of the biblical historians would place the with all the lineages and everything, most people think that the earth is anywhere between 5,000 and 8,000 years old. and it all adds up. The reason why we're going way off topic. Sorry. The reason why people have added millions of years is because in order um, for like the layers to have happened and the fossils and all that, in order for anything to work, it had to have millions, if not billions, of years in order for these models to work. We didn't come from goo. We came from the one who made us, which is God the Father, Adonai Elohim. God is a very generic term, and actually shouldn't be used for God, because there are many gods. Demons are considered gods, like Aphrodite, Helen, Zeus. These are all demonic figures. They're posing as gods that are pushing their narrative in order for you to get lost. Yahweh or Adonai, Yahweh was his original name until I think I read 70 AD, when I think it was the church burned, and and they stopped using Yahweh, and then they started using Adonai. And I did a study on this about a month ago. That's how I know this. But they started using Adonai and Elohim at that point. So we don't know the correct pronunciation, but we do know that the Hebrew was YHWH. As to be God the Father was called YHWH. I've heard like Yahweh, I've heard Yahweh, I've heard other pronunciations. It's just like Jesus. You have Yeshua, you have Yeshua. I can't pronounce that last part. It starts with an H. Yeshua, Mashiach. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble pronouncing that. But those that are in the know what I'm talking about. And it in the 1500s was Isis, because there wasn't a J back in the day. So Jehovah would have been Jehovah. So it was Isis, which turned into Jesus, was the English translation of whatever. But if you look up the names, you find out that there are a lot of different names, and names have power and have meaning to them. But sorry, I'm off topic. But back on topic, how to survive. You're going to basically have to figure out ways of providing for food. I gave you a book. There's a lot of things that are out there that you potentially could eat. When the SHTF hits, I was more than likely heading down to the coast, because I know that there are crabs, there are fish, there are conchs, there's plants, and there's all kinds of things where I know I can live. But I will have to fight the storms if any hurricanes or whatever hit, or tsunamis. I would probably die at that point, but oh well. But you're going to have the basic requirements. You're going to have a source of water to drink and to use. You're going to have a source of food. So you're going to have to somehow live off the land, or be able to have some kind of source of food. And yeah, that's going to be a hard one for a lot of people. So you're going to have some form of shelter from critters, from elements. So you're going to have a tarp, or some way of keeping things off of you. So if you're preparing now and you see my video, then I would recommend getting these basic components, getting a tarp or a tent or both, getting some some tablets, some Clorox, and things of making water drinkable. And yeah, other things that you may need, hatchet. A Leatherman are really handy. It's like a fancy tool that has has a knife on it, has scissors on it. It has pliers on, needle nose pliers on it. So that's really a good thing to have. You will need well, can be called flint and steel, but this is your matches. These can get wet, and I can dry them off, and they'll still work. You'll need medicines. One thing that is essential is the Bible. And the Bible actually points out that it says, and when it's talking about the churches, it says that God has hidden manna, which God has a way of supplying people that are truly His. I don't know how God works in the tribulation time. That is kind of a fuzzy topic, and I've heard various different things on videos, so I'm not sure how, because I've heard that the Spirit of God leaves completely off of the land, because that's kind of the thing holding down the beast and everything else is the Spirit of God here, or the Holy Spirit. And I don't know if that's completely comes off the land, and that's why you have to die in order to make it. That's not why you're not going to be raptured. But I don't know how He deals with people that are still here on this land. If he'll hear you and he'll hear your prayers, I don't know. And I've prayed about that, and I don't know the answer to that. So what I'd also get is fishing line, hooks, weights, and with that, you don't necessarily need a rod. You just need a stick, and you can attach it. However, you'll have to have a way of finding worms, or a way of, or maybe a dead piece of flesh or something that you have cut off of an animal or whatever, and that can be used for fishing. So I know I've gone over a lot. I know I've taken a lot of rabbit trails, if you will. I know this is a video that's gone pretty long. In my opinion, there's a lot of good things on here. Your technology won't work during this time. Do not rely on it at all. This thing is trying to, this thing will track you. Our government listens to everything that we talk about. The NSA video records everything that is out there in order to see if you're a threat. But I'm no threat. I want peace. I don't want to cause anything. I'm just trying to get you in that mentality of surviving. But you're going to have to be creative. You're going to face scenarios that no person has ever faced before. You're going to have to use plastic bottles and whatever you find in order to do what you got to do. Just think of ways of carrying things. I mean, you may have a shirt that you can make into a bag, and somehow you attach that bag onto your back with ropes or whatever. If you have access to a cart of some kind, that would be a great thing to have. Like, we have a Gorilla cart in the garage, and if it came down to it, I have a backpack in the garage with a tent and sleeping bag, and I have a Gorilla cart. And what I do is I load the Gorilla cart and put everything in my backpack and go down the road. Yeah. But when it hits the fan, I would highly recommend getting the hell out of the city. Sorry, I don't mean to cuss, but I would get the heck out of the city, and to where and living like at a, well, no, certain places are going to be harder than others to live. maybe if you have a church and you have a group of friends that you can be open with, I would bring this topic up and say, hey, can I rely on you? And when this hits, can we join forces and go to whatever? So I really don't know what life will be like. I know a lot of the different pieces that we may see, but no one in the US has ever seen this type of survival situation before. Um, and nothing can really prepare you for seeing what we're going to see. The only way that anyone will survive is this. The only reason why we are alive is to get to know Yeshua, God the Father, and that's the ultimate reason why we're here. And what I would do is I mean, even if it were the tribulation, if there was only one thing I could take, this would be it. If I had to die of starvation or whatever, or if I had to do whatever, I've never had to face starvation on that level, but I don't know what my reaction would be. I've tried to mentally think about that, and I can't wrap my head around that. But it does say in here that I will take mercy on who I take mercy and give grace to who I give grace. I don't know how God will react during that time. If you sincerely go to Him and are fasting, what Adam and Eve did in the olden times, if you look at it, he fasted from everything, from food and water, for like 50 to 60 days. Your science things claim that you can only go 3 days without water. However, I don't think that's accurate, because Moses went 40 days, Jesus went 40 days, and many others, Adam and Eve, both went more than 40 days without food and water. That would be very, very bad. You'll be very, very tired, and your body will not react right. You will have a lot of fatigue, and our bodies are used to a lot of food and a lot of water going in constantly. But just know it's possible. But I would ask each and every one of you to truly give your lives over to God now. I don't know how long this video is going to be out there. I don't even know if computers will be operational in the next month. You're going to have a complete grid down situation where the power is going to go out, and it may go out for months. So if you see this, I would ask that you would give your heart over to God now and live for Him. As if you don't, there's only one other place you can go. And I don't want to see anyone going that way. So I beg you to get your Bible, get to know Him, and repent now. We are at the door of Him taking His true people home. And the way is very, very, very narrow. You will have to give up this world, which I know it's a lot easier said than done. It took me 40 to 41 years, where I thought I was right for a little while, for a long time. I thought I was like, hey, I'm fine. I know God. I'm at church all the time. I read my Bible. I pray to God. And then I found out that the stuff I was watching and the stuff I was listening to was affecting who I truly was and was meant to be. So I gave all of it up. And I've tried not to look backwards. There's been times when I'm like, okay, what do I do with all this time that I have now? And there's times when where I've wanted to go back to that way of living. I mean, I'll be honest, it's you have to figure out a way of using that time better. And what I do a lot now is I talk to God, and I'm in the Word a lot more. And I'm also outdoors and doing stuff more than I had been in the past. So thank you for joining me. I know it's long-winded. It's just I couldn't have made it any shorter. There are other pieces that I'm sure I didn't go into. But the main thing to do is you're gonna just have to cover up your tracks. You're gonna have to, if you have deadfall and you're trying to hide a car or whatever, I mean, just put things all over your car. And because the way that they'll track you is by satellites, they're gonna track you by drones, and they're gonna want to know where you are. I think for quite a while there'll be so much chaos and people doing all kinds of crazy stuff that them trying to find you, especially if you're out in the boonies, it's going to take a little while. So it may take a year or two to find you. So yeah, God bless you all. Thank you for joining me. I hope you learned a lot.